I'm Dale Beaumont from Get Published TV. This is the only dedicated show on the internet to help authors and aspiring authors to write, publish, and market their own best-selling book in 8 minutes a day. Now, in today's episode, we're actually going to look at answering a really important question, and this is really important mainly for self-publishers, but also if you go through a major publisher as well, they may be asking for your input, they may be asking you for your opinion, and so you kind of want to know about how you can answer this question and what are the pros and cons of going each way. The question is this: how many books should I print in my first print run? Okay, now if you have never done this before, you're probably thinking, why is that such an important decision? The reason why is because when you look at all of your expenses for writing and publishing your book, you're going to have expenses for maybe an editor, expenses for a proofreader, typesetting, graphic design, maybe if you're using a ghostwriter, you'll have an expense for a ghostwriter, maybe you've got some other postage costs or travel costs, and you add all those up together. And then you've actually got the costs of and I might draw this on the board right now, you've got your costs of all of our other stuff. Let's just call that X. And then over here, you've got your printing expense, and that's Y. And as you can see, it takes up a lot of space. So about probably 80% or 90% of your costs are going to be in printing. And that's why this is such a critical decision, and you need to know which way to go. Now, if you've done this process before, like I have, then I normally just go straight to sort of bigger numbers. Like for most of my print runs, they're at least 5,000, if not 10,000, sometimes 15,000 or 20,000, depending on what I'm actually doing. So that's a variety of different ways that I've gone with some of my more recent books. Now, of course, that's all relative to your country, right? Because in Australia, we've got a population of about 20 million, so therefore, those are the numbers that kind of work. If you're in a country like the US with close to 300 million people, then maybe your starting print run, if you're an experienced author, and that's the key, could be maybe 5,000 or sorry, it could be more like 20,000, 30,000 or 50,000, okay? So it really depends. Or if you're in a country like Singapore with only 4 million people, then maybe you're going to start with 2,000 or 3,000. That's if you're an experienced author. The reason why I say that is because guaranteed, okay, believe me, guaranteed, no matter how many times you actually check your book, you may have gone through it 1,000 times and you've checked every last element. When it comes time to actually get your book physically in your hand, right? When you get your book, there are going to be mistakes. There are going to be things that you wish you would have done differently. And I've had this happen on a number of occasions, but thankfully over time I've got better and better at this because I've made a lot of mistakes, and then every time I've made a mistake I've actually documented them and put them in a system. So before I sign off for my books to go to the printer, I actually go through that checklist and make sure that all those boxes can be ticked, okay? And I keep adding to that list every time I make a new mistake, okay? But wish I could say I never make mistakes, but of course, they continue to happen, so I keep adding them on. And maybe in a future episode, I'll actually go through that list with you, and I'll share with you what are all the things that I now check. There's around about maybe 15 or 20 different things. They're all very important, and if you don't know what they are, you're going to make some mistakes, and you'll end up having a major decision on your hand to make. Now, if there are only a couple of small spelling mistakes, or maybe something isn't in alignment, you may say, oh, what the hell, not a big deal. But if you have a mistake on your front cover, or if the barcode is incorrect, or if there is a photo in there that actually you don't have the rights to actually use, then all those books could be rendered useless, because if someone comes and sends you a letter saying you can't use that graphic, all those books must be withdrawn and pulped, then you could be losing tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're doing a big print run. So therefore it's important, especially if you're doing this for the first time, please, my strongest recommendation is start with a small print run and then work your way up to bigger numbers, okay? Because if you end up making small mistakes, they won't make that much difference, but if you make a few big mistakes, and it's very easy if you're doing it for the first time, then all your books could be useless, and you're going to actually, every time you give someone your book, you're going to say, oh, here's my book, but don't open the book because I really don't like how it looks, or you're going to be always apologizing for it, or oh, I don't like that cover photo of myself anymore, or you're going to say, oh, be careful for page number 166 because it cuts off at the end, or whatever is the issue that you actually have, and you never feel comfortable about it, and you never want to be like that. You want to promote your book with pride. You want to say, here's my book. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but in your heart that you've done the best you possibly can, and you're proud of your work, and you want to know that you've got if you've got like 3,000 or 4,000 books in your garage, that you can feel happy and comfortable selling them over time and not sort of shuddering every time you hand your book over. So in order to prevent that from happening, start with smaller print runs first. Now, this is why this is so cool, because right now there are so many other options that weren't available 5 years ago and weren't available 10 years ago. And what I'm referring to is this phenomena in publishing which is known as print on demand. Now, what print on demand is that you can, before you actually had to set up proper, let me just, a printing press, which imagine these big wheels, and it had kind of all this ink on them, and they stamped, your books, and it was this big production. And in order to make that economically viable, you can't just print one book. You probably have to print a minimum of maybe 3,000 to 5,000 books in order for that to become actually a worthwhile thing to do. But what's happened in recent times is that you now have the ability, if you want to print a book, you can now print one book. That's it. If you only want one book, you can go to print on demand printers now, and they print them digitally. They don't use a traditional offset printer. They do them digitally, and you can print just one book. Now, I recommend that probably for your first print run, if you're a new author, that you probably print about 100. You print 100 books to actually get started. That's 100. Okay. Now, in a future episode, I'm probably going to tell you what to do with those books, because I haven't really got the time to expand on them that too much right now. All right. But you take these 100 books, and just quickly, I'll go through the details later on. But you may send a few to some publishers, a few to distributors, a few to media people. You might send a few to magazines so they can review, a few to friends and family, a few to international publishers, international distributors, etc. Now, I'll explain to you why you do that and how to do that later on, but you probably do 100. Now, that's going to cost you a fair bit of money, and when you look at your numbers, you're going to be sort of saying, oh, it's going to be so tempting to say, I'll just do 1,000, or I'll just do 3,000 or 5,000, because it comes so much cheaper. Please resist that temptation. Resist that temptation to do 5,000 or 10,000 if it's your first time. Okay, yes, it's going to cost you more money, but that's okay. All right. Now, Dean, how long have I been running this video for? I think I'm going over time. Sorry, Dean's just in the other room, and he needs to get behind the camera right now and tell me, should I be wrapping up this video, or can I continue? Thanks, Dean. How are we going for time? I'm done. Okay, let me just quickly wrap this up then, okay? So here's my advice, because I want to try and keep all these videos around about sort of 8 minutes or so. I know I'm going over, but as I continue with this, I'm going to get better and better and try to get right on 8 minutes. Maybe I need to get an egg timer or a clock or something, but let me quickly summarize. Start with a small print run, maybe 100, and then after you've done 100, don't then jump straight away to 5,000. Probably there, go to maybe 1,000 copies is probably a really good measure. And then after that, you can maybe then go to 3,000 or 5,000. Or of course, if you're in America or the UK and you want to do bigger numbers, you can. Obviously, scale it up for where you actually are. But I say start small and build your way up. That's probably one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give you. Sure, it's going to cost you more at the beginning, but it's going to avoid mistakes. They're going to end up costing you 10 times more in the long run, okay? It's very important advice. We'll talk more about this later on, and I'll come at it from kind of different angles, but I wanted to put that across and trust you've got some value out of this video. Thanks for watching Get Published TV. See you again next time.